Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Denver, Colorado, it's time for Franchise Bible Coach Radio. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Franchise Bible Coach Radio podcast with Rick and Rob. I'm Rick Grossman, and I'll introduce you to my co-host, Rob Ganley, here in just a second. And we have an exciting guest, a successful franchisor out of Northern California. We're going to introduce him as well. But our topic is innovative franchise growth strategies in a pandemic duration. So how are we getting through this time, and how are we preparing for the future? And as a franchisor that is going to be onboarding new businesses that are starting new businesses and supporting them through their first stages of business, we want to kind of get into the details and some of the strategies to think about that, and how we can have some tips and strategies that you can share with your business. So today we have Frank Samson. He's the founder and CEO of Senior Care Authority, like I said, out of Northern California. And he's going to tell us a little bit about his business, and we're going to ask him some interesting questions and get feedback. So I'm going to start by introducing my co-host, Rob Ganley, and he will get us started. So, hey, Rob, how are you?
I'm doing great, Rick. How are you guys doing today?
And we're fine. Thanks for having me on the show, Rick and Rob. Appreciate it. I like that sound, Rick and Rob.
Yes.
How did you decide on Rick and Rob versus Rob and Rick?
Well,
it's not even our real names. We just did times.
we had to arm wrestle. No,
exactly.
It just sounded right. I don't know.
Exactly. So it's great to be here, guys. Thank you for that, Rick and Frank. So just want to take a quick minute to thank our sponsors and the support of Franchise Bible and Entrepreneur Magazine. And so I want to thank Franchise Bible Coach, right? And just let you know that we have a special offer for you if you visit franchisebiblecoach.com. Very special sponsor. And then, of course, SEO Samba is a sponsor as well. And they are an internet marketing platform built for franchisors and franchisees to collaborate. So you can learn more about SEOSamba.com at SEOSamba.com. So thank you to those sponsors. And, so let's dive into the meat of today's program. And it's really one of my favorite questions to start with when I get a chance to meet and work with people like Frank Samson, who's the CEO of Senior Care Authority, is Frank, how did you get to where you are? How did the vision of Senior Care Authority start, and who do you serve?
So again, thanks for having me, and thanks for that question. My background actually is in franchising, but I was in the travel industry for many years. So I did franchise a company that had over 200 franchises in a pretty short period of time. I did sell the company to Uniglobe Travel out of Vancouver, BC, and head offices in California. That's kind of what brought me out to California. But after I transitioned that business, shortly after that, both my parents, they had been ill, and unfortunately both passed away 7 weeks apart from one another. And it was like a light bulb went off that here I had some experience in franchising. I was planning on moving to my next venture. I've always been, I'm a real hard worker, but I'm a lousy employee. So I've, most of my career, I've had my own, businesses, done my own thing. So I took some time off, and I really researched the senior care industry, because after going through what I did, my whole family did with both my parents, I wanted to understand it better. I realized that there was this niche out there. When somebody hears about a senior care business, they think of home care. That's usually top of mind. And that's understandable because there's a lot of home care companies out there. But the niche I saw others doing in different, some parts of the country, mainly in the western part of the country, not as much in the east, was what was called placement. All right. And placement is helping a family pretty much find the best place to live and get proper care. All right. And I thought that was a good fit for me personally. And I felt that it was a tremendous need as well. So after really spending a good year and a half of time in researching the industry, because I was in the franchising business, I was able to reach out to many other franchisors, mainly home care companies, but others as well, and just try to learn as much as I could. And basically, I started it up, and knowing this is back in 2009, and knowing something about franchising, I realized I had to build the model that worked. It needed to work. And my goal was, let's do this, not for a year, not for 2 years, but let's do this for 5 years. If I can make this work over a 5-year period and make it very successful, then, then I think that franchising might be a good fit for it. And I did that. So I built it in Northern California very successfully. And then late 2014, that's when we became, started franchising. So that's kind of where, I started with it. A lot has developed since then, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But it's a wonderful business. We've helped many thousands of families across the country, which is the best feeling you can have. And so we are I guess our area of specialty is more, I would say about 70 to 75% of the families we work with around the country now have been diagnosed. They have a loved one that has been diagnosed with some form of dementia, like Alzheimer's, other types of dementia. That happens to be our niche. So when people ask me, so how's business? My response is always, unfortunately, very good.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. I mean, it's just there's a need out there, and we work hard to help fulfill that and help families.
That's a great mission. Must be fulfilling for all of your franchise owners as well.
Yeah, when they were at the point of considering becoming a senior care authority franchise, I said that to them. I said, hopefully, you'll get to that point where you're gonna get that call or email or letter from a family member who you helped in the past, letting you know that their loved one passed away, but thanking you for making those last years, just easier for the family and for the loved one. And, you can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're a seasoned franchise professional. You've been in the industry a long time, which means a lot to your franchise community, I'm sure. And you guys are growing. So how's that been going?
It's been going great. We have been growing, at a steady pace. Some say we're growing fast. I don't know about fast, but we're growing at a pretty steady pace. We're, now in the majority of the states around the country.
Good for you.
We set up in Canada recently as well. So, and we got some pretty aggressive expansion plans.
All right. Well, that's exciting. And myself and Rob, and of course, other franchise consultants, executives, and professionals are predicting that we're in for some explosive growth. We have a very interesting set of circumstances where we had really good economies. I wrote about this in Entrepreneur, of course, and even in the Fight for Your Franchise Challenge, that we had several years of good economy, and then it's like we all went off the cliff at the same time. And so we have people that are that found themselves either unemployed or furloughed, that now have equity in their homes, good credit, and money in the bank. So they're looking for the opportunity to own their own business. And so we're predicting that we're going to see some pretty explosive growth in franchising. And this sounds like a perfect franchise for somebody that's looking to own their own business that has a compassionate heart and wants to help people.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. And it's the nice thing about it is a low overhead type of business. A lot of husband-wife teams.
Yeah.
A lot of, father, son, mother, daughter. I mean, there's a lot of family teams and so it doesn't have to be two people necessarily. I would say probably we got half of them that are, teaming up with somebody, a family member, and some working it individually, and then growing from there. And many have added staff, and but you don't need a huge staff, which is nice. And other types of businesses, even in the senior care industry, many of them, home care especially. I hold those companies in great regard and what they do, and we work very closely with them. But it's a pretty big overhead. A lot of caregivers, a lot of managing of people, human resources, all of that. So yeah,
nice. And no overhead for a big brick and mortar location.
Exactly right. Yeah, they're all based out of their home. So
that's
before all of us went through what we went through recently, where they were all set up from home in the first place.
Yeah, perfect. Love it. So real quick, Frank, tell me real quick, how has your leadership style evolved during this time? And how has franchise development and recruitment evolved? And how are you doing things different to kind of overcome the circumstances that you've been faced with in the last 7 months or so?
Well, I've always learned and, challenges like this. And when I was in the travel industry and, bomb went off in Europe or something happened, that usually the travel industry was the first to be impacted.
Right.
So I went through a lot of that. And, I've always felt that this type of business that we're in is, maybe the term is overused, but to say, oh, it's recession proof and all of that. But certainly none of us expected this. You certainly watch it in sci-fi movies and all that, but you don't expect it to really, really happen. So when it did, I mean, the thing that I learned when I was franchising and in the travel industry, when we went through some ups and downs because of things that happened in the world that were not in our control, the best thing you could do is just over communicate right away.
Right.
So instead of sitting back and, showing that you're worried or anything, the best thing we could do is over communicate. So we went from right away. Normally we hold meetings with all of our franchise owners twice a month. We moved it to weekly right away, and basically didn't really even set up a specific agenda like we normally did. We said, let's just talk about what's going on in your marketplace, what's happening, what do we need to do. And we were just doing that on a regular basis, and it helped. It helped quite a bit. As I said, they're all home based, so they were, positioned for that. I think we were positioned well because, as I mentioned, placement is a big part of our business. But another key service that evolved over time is what we call elder care consulting. And what elder care consulting is, on the placement side, let me take a step back. On the placement side, how our franchisees earn money is they get a commission from the assisted living or memory care location. So they're not having to charge the family anything. All right.
Great.
Elder care consulting is just that, doing consulting work that may not be even related to placement. It might be help in finding a home care company. It might be help in finding a psychotherapist. It might be help in, finding various resources, or, doing a particular project, or, working with the family and helping them work through some of the issues, because maybe the son and the daughter don't agree on the next steps that should happen with mom or dad. So we really put an emphasis on the elder care consulting side of things, because we realized that, hey, if at the time if things were on lockdown and you couldn't even place anybody, even if you had them to place, and you couldn't place them at the time, people are going to, I guess the best word that comes to mind, they were freaking out,
Right.
And so they wanted somebody to talk with. And certainly many of our franchise owners were there to consult with families and help them. Fast forward, I think that, the one thing we do know is that year over year, 2020 versus 2019, year over year, our franchisees' business is up.
Wow, great.
Right? And however, unfortunately, assisted living on a national scope is down. Okay, less move-ins, census is down. So why are we up, but on a national basis is down? And you only can conclude that it's the consulting side and people not able to do this alone, and they're seeking out an advisor to help them through the process. So we have continued, I guess maybe I got a little bit off track with your question, but we continue to share these stories with each other. We have, right away, we knew that once assisted living and memory care locations would open up, they're not going to open up where they're going to allow us in to take a family on a tour, because that's what we do. We literally go with the family. So we immediately set up, through third parties, some technology to do virtual tours. So working with the assisted living and memory care locations to do virtual tours for families. So there's a number of different things that we did, but I'd have to say that most of these ideas didn't come from me, didn't come from our home office staff. It came from our own franchisees. And by communicating and sharing these ideas and brainstorming on these sessions, we came up with a lot of ideas that we were able to quickly implement right away.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're taking it in stride and pivoting. And that's what we've really seen, right, Rob, is a lot of innovation and a lot of people finding new opportunities.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts. If there's any of these silver linings here, it's watching entrepreneurs be entrepreneurs and watch franchising really work, because in this last 7 months, you can't put a better situation in place that would test the concept of franchising, being in business, by yourself, or for yourself, but not by yourself. Right. And so,
right.
and then the idea of the innovations that are driven by that collective input of so many bright people, and then a franchisor that has a great team, and just great to see. And so, Frank, you mentioned something there that was interesting, that your business was up, and that, of course, senior living, it makes sense. People would be hesitant and slow down the process of moving, and they're down. And it made me think, your business has been evolving. Obviously, there's a large population that's getting older, and your business has become more and more in demand. Do you think that this situation might have really accelerated that, right? Really helping people see, I need a senior care consultant, right?
As I say, unfortunately, I do, because I wish this never happened. But it was, you kind of almost stated, Rob, what I told the franchisees when this was happening at the beginning, when we were all in shock. I said, it's maybe going to be hard for you to see this now, but I really think this is going to be helpful to us in the long run. Though I wish it didn't happen, I do think it's going to be helpful, because, that's always the thing. Like, what, I always would ask, why would a family want to try to go through this alone and try to make decisions on something they're not familiar with? It's not like, staying at a hotel and you're familiar with that hotel, so you don't use a travel agent, you just do it yourself. That I can understand. That's a commodity. and you're
Right.
doing it over and over again. All right. And I use my travel industry analogies all the time. But here, usually someone is dealing with this maybe once in their lifetime, maybe twice. All right. And so it's not like they have all this experience.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
why
it's got to
would
be
you,
very emotional too, right?
yeah, why would you even consider doing it alone? Usually people do it alone because they don't even know our type of service exists.
Mm-hmm.
That's most of the time. They say, God, where were you a year ago when I needed you? I didn't even know about you. So we're working hard from a marketing standpoint to get our name out there, of course, but it usually comes from referrals. It usually comes from the doctors. It's coming from professionals, elder law attorneys. That's where our franchisees are getting most of their business in their local community. So when this kicked in, I think that a lot of those referral sources that they were reaching out to before, now now they realize that, hey, this particular company could really help my client or really help my patient or their family. So. Yeah.
Right. And Frank, the senior market is huge and growing, right? I've heard statistics about seniors retiring at record numbers, and the baby boomers retiring and aging, and just it sounds like you have just tremendous growth in that segment for quite a long time to come.
Well, you just have to look at the numbers, and if you look at the numbers, and you don't have to make a prediction, just look at the facts. Okay, and this business will continue to grow because people are aging, and over the next 20 years. All right. Then if you just look at age group, then it might start to flatten out. The reason that I feel that it will continue to grow after that 20-year period, because if you look at other statistics and realize there's a lot of couples that are choosing not to have children. You're having a lot of people are choosing not to wed and just remain single the rest of their lives. That's their decisions, but the statistics are showing that. So after that 20-year period and that next group, there's going to be many more adult singles alone, and there will be many more couples without children. Therefore, it's usually the children that are providing, the care before moving to a, assisted living or something like that. So that's why I feel strongly that this business will continue to grow for quite a long time. It will never, be down per se. I'm just saying, if you look at the sheer numbers and age groups, it will rise pretty substantially over the next 20, 25 years.
Yeah, it's like a tidal wave that hits, and then the level's way up, and then like you said, over 20 years, it'll.
Yeah, you probably heard the term before, but I didn't make up the term, but we call it the silver tsunami.
The silver tsunami. I've read that.
Yeah. And right now it's just drizzling rain.
Right.
Just drizzling. It's like, hey, we heard the weather's getting bad, type of thing. So it's really at its infancy stage still.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, gotcha.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So that is tremendous. And Frank, we're approaching the end of our show today. It was incredible to talk to you, and I'm glad to hear this. I'm glad to hear you're doing such good work and your business is up, and that's all we can hope for, right? When we speak with guys like you, we like to leave, the audience with sort of a gold nugget or a tip, like obviously this last 7 months here in 2020 has been a very unique time in our business lives. Is there anything that you could leave the audience with, maybe those that are thinking about another act in life, another step, because we know there's a lot of change in the economy going on, a lot of people looking for something else, something different. But is there any gold nugget, anything you can leave the audience with?
Yeah, well, I'll do it if I could take it two different directions. Those that are, dealing or could be dealing with a loved one in their family that does need care, does need help, don't do this alone. I said it earlier and I can't say it enough. So I'll just leave you with that, reach out, whether it's our organization at Senior Care Authority, or you don't even, you need some help with somebody, some other assistance with somebody else within the industry, reach out to us and we could point you in the right direction. As it relates to somebody who is looking for a new career, certainly, just, we'll lay it on the line, we'll take everybody through kind of that process, and you'll learn after you start talking to some of our franchisees, which we want you to do, is this a good fit for you? It's not for everybody. For example, I say to many, not many, every franchisee, I said, what are you going to do? How are you going to be able to handle the fact that an adult child could be in their 60s, right? All right. That will literally cry on your shoulder, literally, because they're so stressed out regarding a parent. You're going to be able to handle that, or is that going to be too hard on you? So we do lay out, a lot of the positives, but we certainly lay out some of the challenges. So, this is certainly a wonderful business. If you're the type of a person that really wants to build hire a lot of people and manage people, and you like doing that, then this isn't for you. Okay. If you are looking for a guaranteed, business with a brand name like a McDonald's or whatever, that's not us. Okay. You got to work hard It's not easy. Though the far majority of our franchisees do extremely well. There's no guarantees, but we got a tremendous support system. So, if this is something that you think would be of interest, we'd love to talk to you.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Frank. Well,
I hope that's what you were asking, Rob. Both kind of took both sides.
I think the first one was the Gold Nugget, and I heard that because, it was very helpful, I think, for our listeners. But truly, we're all going to face this. My parents are in their early 80s, and it's already on my mind. So I'm lucky.
Let me tell you, I'll give you advice that others are probably going through. You need to have that conversation with them now.
Yeah.
Right.
And certainly those are things we could help with, because, you have certain cases where the adult child says to the parent, hey, we need to talk. What happens if? Okay. You usually have the conversation, what happens if I pass? But very seldom do you have the conversations of what happens if I'm going to need care. All right. And they're always going to say, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying at home.
Right.
Now, that's what they're going to say. They could do all sorts of studies on it. I can tell you what they're going to say, So, but what if you're not going to be safe at home? What if that's not going to be the best place for you? So, those are all things we could help with too, is how to have that conversation with mom or dad or another loved one. We actually do a seminar just on that subject matter. So.
Nice. Well, Frank, before I let you go, you said you had just about all the states. How many units do you guys have now?
We're at about 75 units right now, approximately.
Nice. And plenty of open territories.
Plenty of open territories. Big country. Yeah,
it's a big country. There's room for more. So, and then just give me a snapshot of the ideal candidate. Who's the perfect franchise candidate for you guys?
Obviously self-starter, somebody who's very compassionate. I think we have found that there's been great success from people who have had some experience in sales, and I don't want to say that this is necessarily a sales type of position, because it's more a consultative type of work, to work with families, but somebody who knows how to go out and build relationships, and building those B2B relationships, as I mentioned, with the attorneys and the physicians and all that. And certainly we provide a tremendous amount of assistance there, but our franchisees are doing that in their local market. That's key. So they have to be comfortable with that networking, et cetera. Now, in the environment we're in right now, we have many that started up during COVID. They knew they were starting up during COVID, but they're utilizing LinkedIn more effectively. They're utilizing other forms to build those B2B relationships. So I would say that not that is the prerequisite, but I'm just saying that I would say that people with that type of a background, we have found to get off to a faster start. Let's put it that way.
Wonderful. Well, folks, it looks like a great franchise opportunity and lots of positives there. So if you're looking for a new business, definitely get in touch with Frank and his team. Frank, what's the best website for them to look at?
Just go to seniorcareauthority.com.
Okay.
And then there's a section right there that says franchise opportunities. You want to learn more about the franchise, a lot of videos, a lot of great information on there. You could take it from there. So I think it's a pretty robust site to learn a lot and get in touch with the right people in our organization to help.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your tips and strategies. That's, the whole purpose of our show is to help franchisors and franchisees and people in business get through this time and to thrive on the other side. So every little gold nugget you shared is going to be an idea that might help another business get through this time and do well. So we appreciate your time and your busy schedule there. So folks, we'd like to remember to thank our sponsors, of course, franchisebiblecoach.com. Go over and see that website if you're looking for some resources and some coaching and some good things there. And then, of course, SEO Samba. You can find them at seosamba.com. And I want to thank my co-host, Rob Ganley. And you have a good day, Rob. I'll see you on the other side as well. And then we'll just go ahead and be here if you need us. So thank you, Frank and Rob. I'm Rick Grossman signing off for the Franchise Bible Coach Radio podcast with Rick and Rob. Goodbye, everybody.